All right, so the truth about Jon Jones is that a couple things. I want to talk about Jon Jones, but I also want to talk about the UFC, and then I want to finish up with my just overall thoughts. All right. So first off, Jon Jones, we all know his record. We all know what he's done for the UFC sport. We know that he came in the sport at a young age, and he has pretty much dominated, since he's been in the sport. He's only literally have one loss, and that was due to illegal elbows, which we know that now they've legalized those elbows. So technically, he has never lost in his UFC career, and so fast forward now, we're not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about his backstory and the things that's happened to him outside of fighting, outside of the octagon, because that's really irrelevant. People can argue. To me, it's irrelevant. People can argue that, he was on steroids and that affected his fight. No, it didn't. He's still dominant. He's still whooping and taking names, and so I think that his legacy is set in stone. There's no debating whether or not, this guy is the greatest. He is the greatest, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, Jon Jones is the greatest. And so, fast forward a little bit, Jon Jones fought Stipe Miocic. He came back after pec tear, and he fought Stipe. And so right before that fight, if we remember, there was already rumors going around that Tom Aspinall wanted to fight, and that Jon Jones was kind of scared of Tom Aspinall, and I think a lot of that had to do with Tom Aspinall kind of creating a channel and really just kind of poking him, just for attention. And so what happened is right before, it's raining, so I got my windshield wipers on. But right before that Stipe Miocic fight, Jon Jones was at a meet and greet type of event or some sort of convention or something, and people, his fans, were able to go on stage and meet him, shake his hand, and take a picture. And so Tom Aspinall decided that he was going to show up and see if he could get a picture with Jon Jones or whatever and talk to him. And so what happened is he went on stage and they talked a little bit, and Tom Aspinall, I guess in his country, I'm not sure, it's to me it's a sign of disrespect when you put your hand on somebody's shoulder, and Jon took it as disrespect. So he pushed his hand off and said, "Hey man, let's not do that," or something like that. It was some words back and forth, and anyway, Tom Aspinall asked for a picture, and they ended up getting a picture. And so after that, obviously Jon Jones went to fight Stipe. But I think the one thing about Jon Jones is he feels that this guy's just annoying, and Jon Jones has said that. And to me, he seems annoying as well. When you listen to Tom Aspinall speak, you hear just a normal dude, a down-to-earth, respectful dude. But then when you see his tweets and the commentary, or not commentary, but the videos that he puts out on his YouTube channel, it's making fun, it's poking at Jon Jones, and that's something that, like, dude, you don't have to do all that to get a fight. You don't have to do all that, man. If you're out there kicking butt, which he has been, but honestly, Tom Aspinall has fought a bunch of nobodies. I mean, you look at the work Jon Jones has done and some of these other heavyweights and what they've been able to do and who they've been able to beat. And it's like, man, not everybody's excited about, I'm going to stop here, about Tom Aspinall's fights. Not everybody gets excited about his records anyway, And so while this guy may be a wonderful fighter and he may go on to do some incredible things, it's just not very convincing to me or a lot of other people that this is the fight to make or it just doesn't get you excited. Now the hype is behind Tom Aspinall now, and so people want to see the fight. But honestly, me as a fan of UFC and been a fan before it was UFC, I'm not really excited about that fight, and I'll tell you why. And a couple reasons why is, number one is because there's been a lot of fighters, who was that? Dominic Reyes was one that, man, I was like nervous for Jon Jones at one point, but Jon Jones, he got through it. He won. And so there's been guys come along and it's like, man, there's so much hype, but then, Jon Jones goes in there and does what he needs to do to win. And I know people want to gravitate to this and say, man, this is another fight where, or this is the one guy that could, force Jon Jones to do, to be beat or whatever. And it looks good on the surface, but I don't. Here's my thing on that. I look at it from this standpoint, from the fighter standpoint. I'm always in the corner of the fighter because I know what the fighters have to go through, from lack of pay to all the work all the work they put in. And so on one hand, I'm like, man, this could be a good fight between Tom and Jon, and where Jon is very, very challenged in this fight. On the other hand, I look at it like from Jon Jones' standpoint, like, man, I would do the same thing if I were you. I would try and get as much money as possible, put myself in the right position. If we go back and look at Jon Jones' career and how, people have taken shots at him because of things outside of the ring, and now he's finally in a really good position, even though he's been in really good positions early in his fighting career where he sabotaged himself by things he did outside of the ring. He's now back in a position where he can say, man, I want to make as much money as possible. And that leads me to my next point about Jon Jones is, if I was him, I would be doing the same thing as far as trying to get the most money that he can in this situation. Fighters in general, they don't get what they should be getting, especially early in their career when they're winning and making a name for themselves. You don't really get what you're worth, and even then you have to fight for it until after you have made some sort of championship run, or you have the belt or something like that. And so I think that Jon Jones, from that standpoint, from a money standpoint, is doing exactly what he needs to do. It's no different than me or you if we have a job and these owners are not going to come out and pay us what we're worth. A lot of times we have to work there for a while, and we have to build up the work ethic and all that kind of stuff in order to get what we want. And so it's no different than any other job that where people have to work up to what they want to get paid. And sometimes you have to play hardball. And I think that's what Jon Jones is doing. He's playing the game the way they have it set up. And so in order to make the money that he wants to make on the back end. And so my last point, I think, is about the UFC. The UFC has to do a better job in building the fighters, and making it about the fighters. In my opinion, I believe that if these fighters were promoted better, number one, it's going to bring more money to the UFC, but also the UFC has to do a better job of creating a division in the heavyweights division where it's exciting to watch. Right now, I mean, you only have Tom and Jon. That's it. And so if it were not for Jon being where he is right now, the UFC, the heavyweight division, would really be just really not exciting. Obviously we'd watch, but it's just not exciting when it's exciting when you have superstars, when you have the Jon Jones, the Tom Aspinall, the Stipe, Daniel Cormier. When you have those fighters, man, it's great. And some of those guys that I mentioned are past tense. They've retired. Stipe, Daniel, they've retired. But when you have those names, it makes it interesting to watch, and whereas now if we do what everybody's wanting to do, right, is strip Jon Jones of the belt, then how is that gonna lead to success for the UFC? And I think Dana White, the UFC, I think they all understand that. Like, man, we have to get this guy Jon Jones to stay and fight, because to me, he's arguably the most popular fighter in UFC besides Conor McGregor. But I think that he is the biggest name, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. I mean, you've got some other guys that are building names. I mean, obviously Islam and Shemaev and Ilia Topuria. A lot of these guys have big names. There's a lot of big names. And in the women's division, you have a lot of women that are popular. Amanda may be coming back, and now Kayla Harrison. So you've got a lot of names that we get excited about in the UFC. But I think Jon Jones at the very top. And so I don't think it's wise to just say, hey, we need to strip this guy. And you got so many outlets, media channels and all that are saying, hey, strip this guy. We're sick of it. UFC is being dominated by Jon Jones. And it's just like we're grabbing narratives just for clicks and views. And so the real truth of it is the UFC knows what they're doing, number one. Number two, Jon Jones is trying to make the most money that he can. And then number three, honestly, Tom Aspinall is doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's trying to get the big fights. So I can't necessarily fault anyone out of those three. I can't fault Tom, I can't fault Jon, and I can't really fault the UFC. But everybody has a little bit of blame, I think. Everybody has a little bit. But when you look at it, it's all, look at where we are. Look at the eyes that's come to the UFC. Look at the popularity of, or not the popularity, but the viral aspect of what's going on. Anytime you mention it, Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, whatever, you get a lot of views. And so I just wanted to make this video to maybe give a different take that we all, I think, know, but nobody's saying. I think we just need to be patient, guys. I think we gotta be patient when it comes to the UFC, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. It's gonna be a mega fight if it does happen. I think this thing with Francis Ngannou is just another name being thrown in there. I don't think it's reality. I don't think Jon Jones and Francis will ever fight, to be honest. Unless, I'll say this, unless with this new TV deal with the Netflix thing that we've all been hearing about, unless there's something in that inner working business deal where they say, hey, we want that fight to happen. It's all about business, guys. At the end of the day, UFC wants to make money. And if it is, hey, we're going to sign this new deal, but in this new deal, we need to get these two guys in the contract to fight, man, it's going to happen. So whether it's Francis Ngannou or Tom Aspinall, those are going to be mega fights for the UFC. And the UFC, honestly, I think they see dollar signs no matter what. And so they're not going to let Jon Jones walk. They're not going to let Tom Aspinall just sit around, right? I think they're going to force it. Nobody wants the Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor thing to happen again. Nobody wants that. This is a bigger deal with Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall or Francis Ngannou. So I think the UFC will make a deal quick. And let's just remember, we need to take a deep breath and listen to what Dana White is saying, what Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, what everybody's saying. If you listen clearly, you can hear that, hey, man, there's some deals being worked out behind scenes that's going to be big. Jon Jones said, hey, the UFC and I talked, Tom, and we've all talked, and now we're waiting on the UFC to make this announcement or whatever it is. So it's going to be a big deal. Just need to be patient. It's going to happen. Jon Jones is going to fight. He's going to make a lot of money, and we're all going to be happy as MMA fans. So with that, I just want to encourage everybody, man, let's not throw anybody under the bus. Let's not throw Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, UFC. Stop doing that. This is a business deal. We need to be patient as fans, wait for the fight to come, and it's gonna happen, and we're all gonna be satisfied at that point. So I can't wait for it to happen. It's gonna be big. We're all gonna, a lot of people that I know, we're gonna go watch the fight, whatever it is, whoever it is. But Jon Jones is going to fight, in my opinion. I do highly think that it's too much money at stake. So it's going to happen. And so let's just be patient and then enjoy it when it does happen. All right, with that, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.